Nova, would you like to say a few words?
Hi, everyone. My name is Nova George. I am the Spiritual Deepening Associate at FGC, and I'm really happy to be here. I look forward to worshiping with you all and hearing about what you have done, and I just appreciate what I have experienced so far so much. It's been very welcoming. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other visitors? Okay, I'm not going to move around the Zoom and introduce everybody. We'll figure that out as we go. I do want to remind friends about using your mute button when you're not speaking. Also, if you go down to reactions, you can raise your hand if you desire to speak. And Gladys Tiffany will be clerking this forum, and so as she sees folks, she will recognize them. The other thing would be when we're engaged with each other on Zoom. Zoom's probably an apt name for this thing because we tend to have less silence in between statements. We kind of zoom from one thing to the next. I don't know if that's just the nature of the electronic medium, but I would ask that everybody try to remember to just give it a beat before jumping into something, and wait for Gladys as the clerk of this forum to recognize you. Does anyone have anything to add? Tech team, is there anything we need to know?
This is Kevin from Live Oak Friends Meeting Houston. The tech team will record some of the sessions, including this Peace and Justice Forum, by prior arrangement. If you do not want to be recorded, you can keep your mic muted and your video off.
Thank you.
And
Ann?
I'd like to add, if you could add your monthly meeting name, that will help us get to know each other a little bit better. And by doing that, you just hover over your little square and you'll see the three dots come up. You click on the three dots and go down till you see rename and choose that, and you have the option of adding where you're from, your monthly meeting, or your other identifiers such as FGC. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I neglected to say that I'm Bill Wilkinson. I'm the clerk, and I'm from Friends Meeting of San Antonio. So with that, Gladys, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. And thank you, everybody, for being here today, and really look forward to having input from friends on a variety of different issues. Before we get started, I wanted to just kind of mention what the charge of SCYM is to Peace and Justice Committee. We are a gathering center for information and concerns from monthly meetings and the yearly meetings. So we're an interface between monthly and yearly meetings. And we are open to a lot of the different kind of concerns that friends and meetings have. And what we're going to be doing today is kind of providing a space for us to bring forward some of the issues that we are working on, and especially if it's something that you would like, or you're considering whether you should bring it to yearly meeting, and that might be a minute that would go before the meeting at the report of the Peace and Justice Committee at that point. I also just wanted to mention that by the magic of Zoom, one of the really beautiful things about Zoom is that before COVID, we only got to see each other once a year. And because of Zoom, now Peace and Justice is actually having monthly or pretty close to monthly meetings. And we have really been able to really connect on a much better level than we have in years past. So I really would like to open this to people who are interested, who are not necessarily on the Peace and Justice Committee. It's an open meeting. And friends who are interested in issues of peace and justice who would like to attend those meetings, if you want to put your contact information into the chat, we can add you to the invitation list to join us for those meetings if you'd like. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention is kind of an overview of what we're going to be doing today. And we're going to begin with some a review of the minute that we already have. Peace and Justice has 1 minute that we are preparing to present to yearly. And we have a letter from Texas Impact about a critical issue that's erupting right now in Texas and is a considerable concern to Texas friends that we want to bring up. And then after that, Val is going to facilitate an overview kind of discussion where we are just going to bring up the issues that meetings and friends are preparing to, that are concerns within your meeting that you would like to just put on the table. So these are issues you want to put on the table, and we're not going to discuss them right there, but bring them up, and then we will, then the second thing we're going to do then is that Kevin is going to facilitate a discussion of the issues that emerged. But first, we're going to bring them up, and then in a separate section, we will discuss them. And so Paula Keith is going to just read the minutes for us. Paula, would you like to start?
Hi, I'm Paula Keith from Dallas Friends Meeting. And like Gladys said, we have 1 minute submitted from Live Oak Friends Meeting, and we have a letter that can be used by the yearly meeting or meetings or individuals on issues of immigration. I'd like to share a screen. Can you do that, Gladys? Of the minute on apartheid. Or I can try to do it.
Paula, anybody can share a screen
Okay.
in this meeting.
I see it. Thank you.
Paula, you're muted. Paula, you're muted.
I had a message that if I'm sharing my screen, my audio is muted.
You were muted. Were you not able to unclick the mute when you're sharing screen?
No, all I could see was a screen.
Paula, just go ahead and read it to us. We can hear you.
You want me to try to share it?
Yes, please.
I think I've got the same thing you're. Okay. You see it?
Yes, thank you. And just scroll down to the your version adapted to SCYM.
Is that
Are
Alex,
others seeing the The document, I'm not seeing it. Okay, that's all right.
Okay. Alex, would you, since you're with Live Oak, would you like to read this minute?
Sure, I'll be happy to. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. So this is based on a minute that we approved at Live Oak Friends meeting. And so this has been just adapted. So instead of saying Live Oak Friends meeting, it's been adapted to refer to SCYM. And there was also a request by Peace and Justice Committee that there be actual items. And so the minute from Live Oak has been adjusted accordingly. So here's how the minute reads. South Central Yearly Meeting joins American Friends Service Committee, AFSC, Live Oak Friends Meeting, and others in the Apartheid-Free Communities campaign. SCYM responds to AFSC's and others' call on faith congregations and communities, as well as other communities and organizations, to join in and declare themselves, quote, apartheid-free, unquote. As such, we affirm our commitment to freedom, justice, and equality for the Palestinian people and all people. We oppose all forms of racism, bigotry, discrimination, and oppression. And we declare ourselves an apartheid-free congregation, and to that end, we pledge to join others in working to end all support to Israel's apartheid regime, settler colonialism, and military occupation. Furthermore, we ask that all monthly meetings in SCYM educate themselves on the legal definition of apartheid and the related reports from Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, the Israeli human rights organization B'Tselem, and others, all documenting in great detail how the practices perpetrated by Israeli leaders and their reports against Palestinians amount to the crime of apartheid. We also ask SCYM monthly meetings to consider joining other monthly meetings and signing on to the campaign.
Thank you, Alex. I did pull up a legal definition of apartheid from Cornell Law School. It says apartheid refers to the implementation and maintenance of a system of legalized racial segregation in which one racial group is deprived of political and civil rights. Apartheid is a crime against humanity punishable under the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court.
So Nova, do you know that Live Oak Friends meeting is from Houston? Just to make sure.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Do we have any comments on this minute?
There's Ann down there, Paula.
Oh, Ann?
Yeah, I did notice, did you say apartheid, the definition of apartheid is by race only? What does that sentence say? And I'll tell you why I'm
Yes,
asking.
it does say legalized racial segregation. Alex, do you have any other
And the reason why I'm asking,
use?
well, the
Yes.
reason I'm asking is because LGBT people are fast becoming segregated from a lot of stuff. And I just was hoping
Yes.
we'd have a minute that would be flexible enough to talk about that situation as well. That's my question.
I'll answer at least part of that. So to be clear, one question often comes up of what's the definition of race, and the International Convention for the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination defines racial discrimination to include race, ethnicity, country of origin, and descent. So just so that's why the human rights organizations consider it meeting that that description. In terms of the LGBTQ issue, this minute was designed, and the language in it is word for word. The part that was highlighted and indented is word for word from the apartheid-free campaign, which again is trying to get a number of organizations, faith communities especially, to sign on to it. So I think it would be great to have an LGBTQ minute as well, and there are other forms of discrimination as well, sex, for example. But and I don't know that one would interfere with it being as part of that signing on to that list. But I just wanted friends to know that that's why the language is written the way it is. It's not our language. Thank you. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
John?
Thank you. I've had to miss all recent meetings of the committee, so I'm asking something that, of course, I don't know because I wasn't there. And that is, how old is the genesis of this minute? When did it start? Is it just this past year? I suspect from what it says it might be, but perhaps it goes back even farther. I'm just curious. Thank you.
It was approved February 19th, 2023.
It's a new campaign.
Well, did you have something?
Paula, maybe you could go ahead with the immigration letter.
Are our friends okay with recommending this minute to the business meeting? Great, thank you. And this is short. I'll just read it. It is specifically addressing some harmful bills in the Texas legislature that Texas Impact is raising an alarm about. But it was written actually by Bill Wilkinson, very skillfully in that it could be used by people outside of Texas. So it could be used by individuals or meetings and SCYM. And it reads, we urge all friends and/or monthly meetings to contact their state representatives with the letter below. As your constituent and representing a faith community here in Texas, or a Texas faith community, in other words, Little Rock could send a meeting on behalf of Friends Meeting of Austin. I or we strongly oppose HB 20 and HB 7. These bills harshly punish and further display inhumane treatment to individuals who are seeking a better life for themselves and their families. They encourage violence as a means to control and are not a solution to immigration for those seeking asylum for a better life. And then your name and contact information. One of these bills I know has to do with authorizing ordinary citizens who are not law enforcement in any way to assist and enforce the border, which you can only imagine could lead to like vigilantism, people coming to the border from other places to catch people that they don't think should be in this country. And it could be a violent thing. Does anybody know, I should have looked this up, but does anybody know what the other bill was about? Because there was two mentioned.
I did look it up, but I'm not remembering exactly what it is.
What is the name? What is the name of the other bill?
It's HB 7.
And HB 20. Yeah, it could easily be looked up.
20 is the one that forms the vigilante committees, but I don't remember what 7 is.
Hello, this is Chip Bach. I'm from Friends Meeting of Austin.
Oh, thank you.
And we just actually talked about both of these bills today, both at Rise meeting as well as in our very brief business meeting that we had. But you know, just what we went over, if I can perhaps read this, it's just a couple paragraphs, and it does explain at a high level what each bill does.
Okay, good, thank you.
So this is an opportunity for action. FMA has long been involved with social issues, with issues surrounding the treatment of those seeking to immigrate to the United States. FMA friends who represent SPYM on Texas Impact brought these concerns to SCYM Peace and Social Justice, which has asked that we consider writing our Texas state representatives concerning House Bill 20 and House Bill 7. And there are links to the full bills, but here's a brief description. House Bill 7 creates a border protection court program, which has wide sweeping authority over activities at the southern border with Mexico. It would allow collection of funds from federal, state, local, and private entities to implement the program. It provides significant authority to the governor of Texas regarding issues such as construction of physical barriers along the southern border and the use of public funding for increasing armed policing at the border. That's kind of my summary. That's 7. Bill 20 creates a border protection unit. This unit would consist of an armed police force, which under the bill could include private citizens with no previous police training. The bill gives authority to the officers in the unit to conduct operations in any county in Texas, not just border counties. And per the bill, personnel in the unit are granted, and this is directly from the bill, immunity from criminal and civil liability for any actions taken. That's in the bill. So peace and social concerns based on this information that we got through Texas Impact and SCYM and our reps on that, we suggested the Friends Education bill on these bills, and it's so that the actions. Both bills have been moved to the Senate Affairs Committee, that was March 13th, fairly recent, and have the support from the governor's office. A suggested action is to write your representatives in the Texas legislature, and an example letter very similar to the one that you read earlier is provided. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. And is there any objection to us including that in what's presented to yearly? All right. Okay, so next we'd like to move on to bringing forward other issues that you may have within your meeting. Val, would you like to take control here?
Thank you, Gladys. So basically what we're interested in is what you, and more importantly, your meeting is interested in terms of issues. And our idea is that after just briefly listing those issues, to look at whether or not we can find a way to develop a minute or more, depending on the issues, that might be brought into the yearly meeting decision-making process. And this is the first step, is defining the issues. Our next step will be discussing them and fleshing them out. So you don't need to give a lot of background. Just talk about what are the issues that are of great concern to your meeting. And if you, I don't see any hands up yet, so if you raise your hand, I'll call on you. Lois, do you have your hand up? It's really hard to see. You'll need to unmute.
Paula has her hand up.
You want me to talk
Yes,
about
go,
what?
Lois. Yes.
Okay, it's the we're working on the deaths that have come out in the Tarrant County Jail, and people have gone in and they've died and they've had illnesses, and we visited the Tarrant County Jail, and we found, some of us have found the conditions weren't very good for, especially with medical issues. And I think we were going to write a minute about it, but I haven't seen it. But that's something we're interested in, the deaths of people who have been imprisoned and picked up and taken to the jail and then have had health issues, and because of the conditions of the jail in the Tarrant County. So that's one issue that we've been talking about. And we partnered with a coalition of other religious groups, a Baptist church and some Episcopal churches and a Unitarian, and they have meetings and about this issue and others. So that's what we've been interested in.
Okay. Paula, then Will, then Gladys. Paula?
Yes, our meeting has an attender with a transgender daughter, about 13 years old. And there's a lot of people who want to ban any gender affirming treatment to minors. And we just have a concern about that in our meeting, because we know her, Jen, and want her to live her life as fully as she can, and would not want any treatment to be not allowed for her. So basically, the issue is transgender minors and access to treatment.
Thank you. Will?
Good afternoon, friends. It's so good to be with you. I am in cold, still New England. I am on the east coast of New Hampshire this weekend visiting my sister. And I'm coming to you from the lands that were once cared for by the Western Abenaki Confederation. One concern that Baton Rouge Friends Meeting has had for the past several years is the impact of climate change on native wetlands. In Louisiana, we have a unique problem that our coastline and our wetlands are disappearing at a rate faster than anywhere in the country, which, if we continue on this trajectory, Louisiana will not be the only state affected. We have a longtime attender in our meeting who is, his name is Dean Wilson. He's the Atchafalaya Basin keeper. And the Atchafalaya Basin is the largest swamp and wetland in the country. And we are particularly concerned on the effects of climate change on the Atchafalaya Basin.
Thank you. Gladys, and then one of the suites. Or both. Gladys?
I wanted to add the issue of homelessness that has become a serious issue in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And I don't know of anybody doing like minutes of support or legislation that's really positive at this point, but I'd like Friends to be aware of this because it's becoming a local justice issue in so many areas across the country. And I'm thinking it should be on our list in order to monitor that.
The suites, and then Ellen.
Well, it's just Bill, but I want to echo Will, but extend it out. The climate catastrophe is very rapidly approaching, and the efforts to mitigate that from town and city, county, state, national government is at best 1 or 2% of what is needed. And once we pass into this decade, a point there is in any practical sense, for any practical human lifespan sense, there is no return. It will be very bad.
Thank you. Ellen?
Yes, I'm Ellen Danielson from the Longview Worship Group out here in East Texas, in rural East Texas. And we are very concerned in our group with issues of war and peace. We are fully in support of the SCNL declaration of on the war in Ukraine, which states that all parties must be engaged. You must be able to engage with what you see as the enemy. And we have a member who is always taking the position that the United States has a role to play in the continuation of this war. And so we would like to bring, I don't know how to say it, but we do feel that issues of war and peace related to the war in Ukraine should be somehow addressed by a Peace and Social Justice Committee.
Thank you. Jim.
Thank you. Am I echoing?
Yes,
Sorry.
you could speak louder. Oh, now you're on mute again.
Okay, thank you. So the issue that I wanted to raise is something that I think we all have been working on in our monthly meetings, and that's related to FCNL's request for guidance on reproductive health policies. And just today at our meeting for worship with attention to business, we approved sending forward to FCNL a statement from Friends Meeting of Austin, which actually takes the form of a new, obviously draft policy that FCNL might consider as a reproductive health policy. And I don't know if it counts as regular Quaker order to suggest that SCYM might take up this issue. FCNL, of course, has asked for input from monthly meetings, and maybe many of us have already provided that input, but that's the issue that I wanted to raise. Thank you.
Thank you. John, and then Don.
John Coffin, Friends Meeting of Little Rock. I just wanted to say we would have lots of interest in many of these topics, especially one of the first ones you mentioned, which was gender rights and transgender difficulties. There were more than a handful of legislative efforts made in this session of our General Assembly this past winter regarding bathroom rights, the ability to get the appropriate medicine at a certain age if you were ready to move ahead at that step, et cetera, et cetera. And so we would have sympathy for certainly that issue and many of the others that you've just recently had mentioned. For example, the war efforts, the road to war that we see ourselves on now, and the environmental problems, of course. But anyway, just wanted to get that statement of solidarity out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Don?
Yes, this can either be an update or I'm not sure just how much information you want at this point, but it's a concern that your meeting is already involved with, and that's the LGBTQ issue in Uganda. And in a nutshell, it's gotten much worse. And I have more information on that, but I'm not sure when to present that or.
Well, Don, what we're going to discuss and flesh out these issues in the next piece of this agenda in one way or another. So I think that might be.
Okay.
Okay, friends. I wish I could say that Friends Meeting of San Antonio has discussed this, but it hasn't recently. I'm a little surprised we haven't seen gun safety show up. But if we don't want to work on that, that's fine. But the issues of children having to do drills. Well, today in meeting, one of our friends talked about his daughter having to do a shooter drill in school, and he is a school teacher also. So Richard's going with that one too. Thank you, Richard. So Chris, do you have another issue to bring forward?
Well, I'll mention this. This is sort of a tangential thing to Live Oak, but there has been a movement in Houston to try to do something about limiting the ability of police to do traffic stops for minor infractions like a broken taillight or whatever, because it so commonly leads to bad results. People get arrested, people get killed sometimes. This is not something that's being led by LOFM, but there are some members that do attend the meetings, and it's still in sort of a formative stage.
We have quite a list. Does someone have anything to add, or are we ready to move to the next step? Will.
I just wanted to add to one friend's note on the reproductive health care from FCNL. I was at a New England yearly meeting, Living Faith gathering yesterday in Portland, Maine, and many friends will remember Bobby Trice from FCNL. He was present there and gave a workshop, and he did mention that FCNL is seeking those advices from monthly meetings before May, but by the last day of April.
Thank you. It looks to me like friends are ready to move on to the next step of fleshing these out and determining if we are going to work on them as minutes to bring to yearly meeting. All right. With that, then I'll pass it to Kevin, who will be facilitating that process.
Is that what I volunteered for? Okay.
I thought so.
So let me tell you what I had in mind, since this is a surprise to everyone. I haven't checked this through the committee, and but we have until 4 for the end of this Peace and Justice Forum. So what I thought we would do is break up into breakout rooms by these subjects, and at a time that we decide, and maybe that's a half hour from now, like 3:30, we come back, and then each group would report out what they either came to and how developed, if there's a minute to carry to a business meeting, or whether there's going to be a working group that will proceed on to formulate a business meeting, either formulate a minute before a business meeting, or it's going to take longer than that. But what do people think about breaking into small groups and discussing what to do about these concerns? Does that sound about right?
So are you thinking about breaking them up by topic?
Yes.
Because we got a bunch of topics here, and I'm wondering how we would identify them.
Yeah, well, so people want to know, people could just go to the breakout room. And so we have a number of breakout rooms that are not named for these topics, but we could decide which topic goes to which dining hall table number. And if no one joins you, then your job would be to join another one. Unless you can write a few notes and clarify solo, so that when you come back, you can report the request you have of this forum. Does that answer your concern, Gladys? What do you typically do? You keep all together and discuss one or maybe two topics in the remaining hour?
Well, let's see, I was making notes as we went along, and there's a couple of issues that are real place specific. The issues about the deaths in the Tarrant County Jail is specific to a particular town. The native wetlands issue is specific to a very large geographic area, but specific. But then there's some general ones, reproductive health, gun safety, transgender issues, war and peace, climate, and homelessness, that are kind of more general issues. And but there's a lot of them. And I'm wondering if there's any way we kind of cluster them into a little bit more organized fashion, so we could maybe break into 3 or 4 groups and not 7.
There's so few of us that I see that as a good idea, but I'm suggesting that that as we clump them, that we write that in chat. So like dining table, such and such and such, dining table or table 1, and the next one, table 2. If it's in chat, we'll all be able to keep track of it, and we can move ourselves, and we would just open up the breakout room list and click join by the table we want to go to. But we'll have in chat what the items are, because I think people will get lost if we don't write it down.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of difficult. Yeah. but I don't know how to do that.
Yeah. So
If you start talking out loud, and I can type it in.
Okay. Okay. So what about if we said, okay, so I'm not saying that the issues of native wetlands and deaths in the prisons are not incredibly important. Is it okay if we say that we'll focus on the more general issues that are going to affect everybody, or do we want to set up a particular room for the local issues?
We can set up a room for that, and if no one's there, they can just move to a different room.
Okay, why don't we do that then? Then we need a room for reproductive health.
Reproductive health is table 1. Is that what you're saying?
Uh-huh.
Okay, got it.
Is that
That's-
inclusive, or is that separate from the transgender
I think that'd be different because I've got
gender affirming care? Okay.
Yeah,
So it's about
I think
reproductive
transgender
health.
issues are probably a different issue. And then guns, and so that would be transgender issues might be or room 2.
Okay.
And gun safety,
Okay.
war and peace.
Just a second. Table 4 is war and peace.
Let me say that we passed a minute regarding Ukraine last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'll just say that the yearly meeting did pass a minute regarding Ukraine last year, for those who might be concerned about this.
It probably would require some update from last year to this year too. I mean, it probably wouldn't hurt to think about how it should be updated. Then climate issues.
That would include the wetlands, I'm guessing. Would that include wetlands?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's
Will is nodding yes. Okay. And so let's leave the wetlands off and include that in climate. And then homeless issues.
Okay, that's table 6.
And,
So where does the concerns about the Friends Ugandan Safe Transport come in?
Oh, yeah, Uganda. Yeah.
Uganda Safe Transport. Okay, that's table 7. You got 3 more.
Are there any other that people feel like got missed?
Is there enough support for a group to talk about policing? I'm not hearing support for that, Chris.
Yeah, I think it's so preliminary. I think we ought to emphasize other topics that people have put more thought and more work into.
Okay, we can keep it on our list to watch for the future though, because you're right, that is a biggie.
Can you be specific, somebody, about where the 2 bills, the 2 Texas bills would fit into this?
We didn't put that in because we have already decided that we have minutes to propose.
Thank you.
So,
Okay.
what happens?
So here's my suggestion is that we go into the breakout rooms and use the rest of till 3:30 to have this discussion. And then each group will have about 4 minutes to summarize what they came up with when we come out. And then I think that'll take us to about 10 of, and we've got about 10 minutes of business at the end.
Do you want to set the breakout room so that they'll close?
No, I can,
We'll just have to come back. We'll just tell people, we'll remind people to come back.
Somebody will circulate through and say it's time to come back.
Okay.
So where do we find the breakout rooms now?
So if you're on a computer, it's fairly easy. If you're on Zoom in a computer, down at the bottom of the Zoom window is a row of icons, and about middle right it says breakout rooms. And if you click that, and you'll see you're in theater. But if you scroll down below that, you'll see the other dining tables, and you can click join, and it'll take you there.
Okay.
And if anybody has trouble with that, just say which room you want to go to, and one of the tech people can help move you there.
Okay.
I can do that, Kevin. I can help you.
Yeah.
Okay. Lois, what room do you want to go to?
Well, I think gun safety.
Gun safety 3. Moving Lois to room 3.
Anybody else want to be moved? John, do you know where you want to go? John Coffin. You're muted, John. I can't hear you.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll go to 3 as well.
Move to timetable 3. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
And I'm so sorry to be so silly here. Could you put me into 4,
Into
please?
4. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Anybody else want to be moved? Pat and Bill? Do you know where you want to go, Pat and Bill? You're muted. You're not going? You're not moving? I see your hand, Pat. Jim, do you want us to move you? And Terry. Is that it? Are we down to? Oh no, there's more of us.
Jane. Maybe she stepped away.
Oh yeah.
And Rich Coral is still.
Rich should be capable, but maybe he's struggling because he's on a tablet.
Yeah, Rich, you want us to just move you, make it fast?
Rich can literally do anything.
I was really trying to figure out which room. I can go to the breakout rooms, but which room is which is what I was struggling with. I missed
I'll
that.
put it in the chat again. If it's in the chat, the list.
I'll look in the chat, Kevin. That's fine. Thanks.
Okay.
There's so many issues. I don't even know where I want to go.
And then is Jim. Oh, did Jim just move? Yeah.
Interesting. Nobody's in reproductive health, which is really so significant for the women that need it, the people that need it.
The is it AFC or FCNL that asked? The reporting by the end of April is not Quaker process because it's a complex issue, and the yearly meeting might not be in unity. I mean, there might be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worth having the discussion. Do you want to join me there and we'll have the discussion? Because
reproductive health? Oh, yeah, I could do that. I could do that.
Which room is that? One?
That's reproductive health is table 1.
I'll join you there.
Okay.
Hey, Kevin, first before you leave.
Okay, I can barely hear you, Edwin.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, but should I just pause the recording momentarily until people return back to this to the theater?
Oh, that's a good idea. I will do it. Will you remind me when we come back?
Me too. And
remind each other when we come back to resume the recording.
Okay, I need to figure that one out. More.
Actually, I'm not.
Don has an absolutely gorgeous view from his deck. I've been there once, if you can see it on his picture. It's kind of a ravine behind his house.
I have a gorgeous one too.
Oh, that's it. You're out in those beautiful hills.
Yeah.
Don, I was commenting on your beautiful deck and your beautiful view.
Oh, thank you. I've got to take a new picture now. My red bud's starting to come out.
Oh, no.
Let's see. So, Kevin, are you going to kind of supervise this section?
So let's do it as a tag team. Gladys, you want me to start?
Sure.
Welcome back, friends. Okay. Who's ready to report on their conversation? Don, which group were you in, and what
Ugandan Safe Transport.
Okay, what did you come up with, Don? You and your team.
The situation was dire to start with, on the conductors being just in horrific situations themselves. And then this new law that was just passed is the redone version of the Kill the Gays bill that they tried to pass here a few years ago and was thrown out on a technicality. So now it's passed both houses, and all it needs is Mr. Vinnie's signature, and it'll be law. And it includes death penalty if you're caught in a gay relationship, life in prison if you're just gay, and if you're even family members or any ally, whether it's a NGO or whatever, you can also go to prison. So every bit of support, like if a family member doesn't turn in another family member, then they both go. Yeah. And the funds that the Friends Uganda Safe Transport has been collecting for the last few years here has gotten about 3,000 people out of Uganda. Okay. But the structure of the conductors at this point is so fragile that they've recommended to them not to take any new clients, but to get their own, situation stable. And so I don't know how rebuilding that's going to work with this new law in, but the only thing I can see now, because it was whenever that article came out, it was like 30 days he had to sign it. And I don't know where that pointer is right now on those 30 days, but it's not much time. And the main thing that we see that might be effective is continue our help to help get those families stable for the conductors, but outside pressure on Museveni himself, whether it's sanctions from the U.S. or the UN Human Rights Commission, individuals meetings, yearly meetings, any support that we can send out. And we don't have much time together. I haven't seen a list of who to send to. And so I'm going to call the Olympia group and see if they've got a list put together of what would be the places we could send that would in turn send a letter to Museveni, asking him not to sign it.
What is the spelling of the president's name?
I was doing good to try to pronounce it without butchering it. I've sent a couple of articles. I believe, Paula, do you have those? You're muted, by the way, Paula.
All right. If you can get it for the minutes, we can put it in here. You've said it a couple of times. All right. So the action that you suggest is to send letters to the president asking him not to sign and to support U.S. efforts not to or to sanction.
Yeah.
Here is his. I have his name. It's spelled YOWERI. That's his first name, President, and the second name is MUSEVENI. I'll put it in the chat.
Will already put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
That sounds pretty clear, Don.
Yeah, and I'm going to contact the Olympia group and try to get other addresses of places to send it also.
All right. And you'll share that with the Peace and Justice Forum in the yearly meeting?
I need to talk to Liz, and if we could send out something to the yearly meetings a mailing list, that'd be fine, or get it on the website. So checking what the mechanics of that is. Liz, you're muted. I see you trying to say something.
And can I maybe say you will handle it and move on? We've got 23 minutes and 5 other groups to report.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that is it correct or not correct that as we talk with people outside of this circle about it, we mention the organization or just mention the situation? I suspect the organization is rather clandestine and probably shouldn't be mentioned.
By the organization, you mean Friends?
Safe Transit.
Yeah, it's okay to mention that because they filter anything so that no information goes back to Uganda on that.
Don, it's fine
Yeah.
for you to send things to me to post to the website. So please do that, okay?
Okay, and if there's other people that want to get a copy directly from me, you can leave me your email. But I think if we can get it to the South Central Yearly Meeting mailing list and the website, that should get it out there. I'll have to get those other addresses on where to have them send letters to. And I'll send that to you, Liz. Okay.
Gladys, do you want to facilitate the next group to get done in about maybe 3 minutes?
Okay. Who else would like to go next? All right, go ahead, Lita.
So this was the Supporting Transgender Rights Group. And 2 states already criminalize treatment under 18. Texas is working on it. So our sense was that as an issue, rather than appealing to legislatures, we should be appealing to hearts and minds with some sort of a minute regarding integrity, equality, community, caring for each other.
I'm sorry, Lita. I don't know if my machine was unstable. Did you finish what you were saying?
I did, and Paula had her hand up to add to it, I guess.
Yes, we are interested in writing a minute, and we already have our contact information where we can start on that. We would like to write it.
Your group is going to write a minute?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And let me just mention that we will be, developed minutes can be presented at the Friday night forum that we will be holding at Yearly. And if somebody from the group can bring that minute to the forum on Friday night, that would be really helpful. Kevin, you want to go next?
Sure. All right. That's a model of brevity and about 3 minutes apiece for the others. Which group wants to report their discussion? Jim, are you ready?
Sorry, did you, this is Jim Kuhn, Friends Meeting of Austin. We met to discuss the war in Ukraine. and reviewed last year's STYM minute and the FCNL statement on Ukraine. We will work to find a time to meet again and may bring forward a minute. In particular, calling for a clearance process for President Putin.
Jim, can I ask that you get closer to the microphone? The sound is a little bit garbled.
Oops, there's one. Sorry, the microphones are above me.
Much better, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we reviewed the FCNL statement on Ukraine as well as SCYM's statement on Ukraine from last year. We may bring forward another minute. We need to find another time to meet. In particular, the minute that we're interested in possibly writing would call for a clearness process for President Putin, perhaps to be brought forward by one of the International Friends bodies. Thank you.
So you're planning to bring forward a minute yearly, is that what you're saying?
We need to meet again to decide. It's not entirely clear whether we will have a minute or not, but we will. You could put us down tentatively for one, but it may not come together.
Okay. Another group. Chris, are you in line to be the next group?
Well, I'm not necessarily in line, but nobody else in our group wanted to speak, so I have no fear.
Okay.
So our group was on climate change and loss of wetlands in Louisiana, and we came to the conclusion fundamentally that was a very large subject, but and we certainly were not ready to propose a minute as of this moment, but having heard now that we have until Friday at yearly meeting, maybe our group can get together and work on that. But the basic themes that came out of our discussion, and Bill and Will, please add to this if you think I'm getting this wrong or omitting important stuff, is that there is a need to emphasize the urgency of the problem of climate change. We have a very short time frame in which to make significant progress on this. And the other thing that came out of it was it's very urgent to make the transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy. And but the other members of the group can speak if they want to add something or correct something.
Anybody else want to speak to that?
Chris summarized that pretty well. It is a big topic. The yearly meeting has had minutes in prior years. Not sure how much has come out of that. The scientific community has known since a report to Lyndon Johnson in '64, which was very wishy-washy. Exxon and similar scientists knew by at least '72 that things were really desperate. If we didn't get changes made, certainly the '88 Hansen testimony for Congress. I've spent some time in the last 2 weeks reading the latest IPCC summary report. There's a whole lot to be done, an enormous amount to be done in a very short time, on a short time, given the magnitude of what needs to change. And if things continue on their current course, things are going to become, in the lifetime of certainly people living today, really, really desperately awful.
Yeah. So, Bill, I'm hoping that your group can get together and formulate a good minute for the Friday evening. That would be great.
We'll try, and we've got 15 seconds left in our 3 minutes. yield the floor.
Anybody else on that? I'd like to share the minute we had in the homelessness group. We have a minute, my scribbles that I can just read you quickly. This is a proposed minute on unhoused people. That the minute would read, SCYM encourages its monthly meetings and individuals and members, to consider successful models being developed that provide residential services and support. Oh, and we also support monthly meetings to support groups and individuals trying to offer to support to unsheltered people. And I think it may need a little bit of refinement, but that'll be the basic gist of it.
Could you put that into the chat so we can put it into the minutes, at least what you have so far, even if it's not refined?
Oh, okay. All right. I will try to do that. Could you go ahead and finish it up, Kevin, and I'll try to get that into the chat.
Yeah, thank you, Gladys.
Yeah.
We haven't heard from gun safety or gender affirming care.
I can, we have a, that was prepared with a speed with which I'm unaccustomed among Quakers. I was impressed with this, but I can put that in chat if that's appropriate, or I can read it.
Both, please.
Okay. Just one second.
Yeah, put it in the chat, and then
okay.
When you stop doing that, you can
Waiting
read it.
for my computer here.
Sorry.
This is supposed to, this is intended to work on both the national and the state level. Obviously it's the first draft. South Central Yearly Meeting continues to be concerned about the large number of mass gun shootings in the United States. We're also extremely concerned that many of the victims of these shootings are children. In order to honor the Second Amendment, yet also honor the lives of innocent civilians, we ask our legislators and president to, and we could add governor there, to stand for common sense safety measures in the purchase and use of guns. Just as we would not accept someone operating a car without a license or training, we believe that persons should not be able to purchase a lethal weapon if they have not passed a background check, they have a criminal background, or they have a severe dangerous mental health condition. Furthermore, there are certain weapons, for example, assault rifles, that are primarily designed to kill people and should not be generally available or available through the mail.
And so Gladys, that's going to be refined shortly. We'll do that ready for Friday night.
Yeah.
But those are the important parts of it that she really read well and brought forward, but it needs some polishing and a little additional stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Kimberly. Just a little business. We've got 10 minutes left. Are there any groups left? And I see
There's a raised hand.
And then I want to ask, so what is our process for submitting these minutes? Are we going to use Gladys as a focal point to collect them, or how are we going to do that?
Yeah, that'd be fine. If people want to send it to me, if you could send it to me and Kevin both, that would be even better. And then we can make sure we're on top of all of it, Kevin, if that's okay.
Okay.
And then I think that we will, I believe the time that they generally schedule, I think we actually schedule ourselves for 7 o'clock or after dinner on Friday evenings for that usual forum. Liz has a hand up, so maybe you have something to add about that.
Well, I was just going to say, when you get those minutes together, I'll be happy to post them on the website so that people can get at them. It is in years past that the Peace and Justice Report
has been on Saturday morning. So, and I think it is again today on the business agenda. I can bring that up really quickly because I have it up, I think.
I've got the schedule in front of me, and there's a business meeting 4 at 6:45 to 7:45, and at 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. are committee meetings too. So maybe is it a committee meeting? It's the 8 o'clock time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
So it'll be 8 o'clock, and we usually just find a corner wherever nobody is at in the theater.
Right. And then we come up on the business meeting agenda, I think, on Saturday. And if that is not the case, you can discuss that with Bill.
Okay.
Wilkinson.
Okay.
I can't get at it right now.
Okay. I'm going to put my email address in the chat just in case.
If people copy me as liz.yates@outlook.com, then you'll know that I've gotten a copy too. But I'll wait for Kevin and Gladys to do whatever they want to do with them. You know, I mean, there might be some alterations. So,
yeah, that's a good plan.
I'll put that in the chat.
Did I get that right? I put it in the chat.
Okay.
Committee reports
yes.
are Saturday morning, and Peace and Justice is the last committee report. So I'm guessing Bill's expecting it to come up Saturday morning.
Right. I just got to that. Thanks, Ann. And committee reports are continued. No, actually, the Peace and Justice Committee report is on Friday, so we may want to.
Peace and Justice is on Friday.
Well, it's just yearly meeting committee reports, but they're going to continue it all through the day, Friday and Saturday.
Right, but we may want to let Bill know that we're on the agenda for Friday at 8:45 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. and they probably won't get through all those reports. So we're the last thing on the agenda. But
okay,
you might want to give Bill a heads up.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So then, I think that this has really been a very fruitful discussion, and it's just amazing how many things meetings are working on throughout the region, not the country, but I think that we have a very good plan for pulling these together on Friday night, and we will come into this meeting with prepared minutes that we will already have been able to share with people, so that we can. And I hope that I have contact information for people. I don't know that I have people who aren't normally on the list, but I'm going to try to send it to everybody I can. And if you haven't heard from me by midweek, let me know, and I can get your email on the list. There's an announcement that I wanted to make, and other people may have some announcements. Oh, I see Alex has his hand up. Alex, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I just wanted a clarifying question. Liz, did I hear you correctly in saying that Peace and Social Justice is going to be on the business meeting on Friday morning, late morning?
We're going to ask Bill to put us on Saturday.
Okay, because the reason I was asking you, if all these minutes are coming to us on Friday night.
Yeah, no, we won't be ready on Friday.
We wouldn't want to do it at the business meeting until after it's gone through on Friday night.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
It's extremely unlikely they would get to us on Friday morning. Extremely unlikely. So.
All right, thank you for that clarification.
So then we typically do at least one topic table at lunch times during yearly. We are intending to do lunch topic tables on both Friday and Saturday. We're going to do the topic lunch on Saturday is open. Yes, Liz?
I wish to remind you that we have a movie growing at lunch on Saturday, a Paul Robeson movie. And my understanding is many people want to attend that. And many of the people want to attend that would be the kind of people who will be want to discuss these things. So I think, what about dinner on, Saturday?
Well,
or
so
breakfast?
the Friday topic table that we wanted to do was to talk about the boarding schools research that's being done by the Peace and Justice Committee. So on Friday, we were planning to do a topic table on the boarding schools. And because we're getting so close to time, Kevin and Paula were going to give a brief report today, but Kevin and Paula, I'm going to ask if you can maybe we'll just focus on that at the topic table, and that'll be at lunchtime. So on Saturday, you're saying lunch is not a good time for a topic table, but dinner might be open. So I think that might work well, because the primary issue, I think, was that we were thinking needed to be discussed was that the Texas impact, it's not actually a minute yet, but that whatever needs to be done with those bills that are facing us, and that would be a lot easier for them. Andrea Bean had something's going on at lunch, and it may have been the movie, I'm not sure, but she,
Anyway,
okay. So she would probably be happy if it was at dinner.
Andrea won't be with us. She's celebrating her son's 30th birthday, which is, for those of you who know Jackson, it's amazing. But Joanna was particularly concerned. She wanted to see the ropes and things.
But Joanna will probably be able to be with us, so that'll be great. So we will aim for Friday lunch and Saturday dinner. And we will, and of course, any friends are invited to come and participate in that. There are just so many incredible issues that are being discussed that we could use a few more meals to have topic tables at, but I think it'll be, we have to do what we can with the things that are the biggest sledgehammer. We're going to put our effort onto that at the moment. And those immigration bills are just really intimidating and immediate. But are there other announcements that friends need to make at this point? Nan, I see you have your hand up.
Oh, I was trying to type it in. Someone asked about reproductive rights. That was Kevin and I. And we talked to tech issues all but 2 minutes or less. But we did agree that that women need to choose about their medical care, and that terminating a pregnancy is a very difficult decision and people should be supported, in which terminating or not terminating a unexpected or problematic pregnancy is a really difficult decision. And we also agree the doctor should not have to worry about losing their licenses by providing medical care to women, and women's lives should not be, so women should not have to reach their deathbed in order for a doctor to be able to treat them. That was basically all we did.
Okay. Are you thinking about putting that together as a minute?
No, that's not something within our capacity in the next 5 days.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Then Lois. Yeah, I lost Lois.
Here I am.
Can you wave, Lois? I can't see you.
Right here.
Okay. Are you ready with the closing for us?
Okay. This is a quote from George Fox, 1650. I told them that I knew when all wars arose, that I lived in the virtue of that life and power, and took away the occasion of all wars. And that was to come into the covenant of peace, which was before all wars and strife. And peace cannot be achieved through violence. It can be only attained through understanding. Albert Einstein. Some sounds are heavenly inside one's head, but they are no less real for that. The warm melody of the sunshine, the sweet harmony of a field of flowers, the singing of the stars.
And if we could close with just a minute of silence, please. Thank you, friends, for all the incredible work that you do. See you soon.
Thank you, friends.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, friends.